Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. This is a book review. Yes, once again, one last time for this year. And today's book, it's going to be none other than the legendary White Knights by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And on a rating scale, I'm going to give this a 8 out of 10. It is a very close 9, not a 10 out of 10. There are some. It has a very horrible ending. That's all I'm going to say about it. Regardless, the thing is, I'm sorry I have taken a massive break for the entire month of November. I think I just put up shorts, I guess. But yeah, that's about it. Sorry, I've been taking part in too many events. Oh my god. Been preparing for my net set. Also been doing my dissertation, which is going very well. I have to say I'm very ahead, but at the same time I'm still behind. But regardless, let's talk about the book. I don't know when the next book club meeting is going to be, but I might not be there for that. So, White Knights. It's a story about a guy who falls in love with a girl who loves another guy, and yeah, that's about it. That's the basic summary that I can give you. So the main character of White Knights, he's never named. I read this book and I could not find the name of the main character. He goes nameless throughout the story. His love interest Nastenka, who he meets on the first night. The chapter scheme for this book is nights, like it's divided based on those nights. So as you can see, it has night 1, night 2, night 3, and then the 4th night. What happens is he develops a crush for this girl called Nashtenka, but then he realizes that she has promised herself to someone else. So he is just there, like stuck. But then basically the girl Nashtenka had made a promise that after a year she would meet her lover over there, but he does not come. And then when ultimately she does give up, and then the main character confesses his love to Nashtenka. But all this while, right, it was so hilarious that Nashtenka was like complimenting him that, oh my god, you have not fallen in love with me, oh my god, you have not developed a crush for me, this that, like these are ideas and these are ways of conversations which are so ahead of their time. That's all I can say. Okay, because you wouldn't think that a girl would talk the way Nashtenka talks during that time, or maybe they did, I don't know. See this book and you see this legendary writer and you think this book, the way it has been written, it is so ahead of its time in the ideas that it throws, like the whole concept of a situationship, which we feel is modern and it's a new thing. It's this Gen Z problem, and it's here. It's in White Knights, and it's so weird because when I was first reading this book and I went through it, I realized how much the modern generation can relate to this book and these problems that Fyodor Dostoevsky has mentioned so many years ago. Ahead Dostoevsky was compared to other writers when it came to understanding human emotions and how like a man feels when he goes through such a situationship kind of thing. Like he is completely heartbroken and he cannot blame the woman, he cannot blame the other guy also. All he can do is just basically blame his luck and blame his situation. That's all there is. And the funny part about this book is that this story is so, like, it hits you so hard if you're a man who is going through this similar situations. Like if you're a man who's going through them, it hits you on a level that you are like, oh my god, it kills you. Like it genuinely does from within. And the worst part about this book, and the single best part as well, is that it ends on a question. God, a whole moment of happiness is that too little for the whole of a man's life? And when I read this, I just started thinking to myself, like, as a man, there is this one small moment of happiness that you cherish, and that's it. And you have to be like, is that enough? And then you're completely lost. And this is exactly what this book is. I mean, there were some lines in this book that completely shattered me, like, why are you not him? Or how Nashtenka was comparing the main character to her lover. And also the very famous lines about the hands, the coldness of hands, or the warmth of hands that he had and that he expresses. And it's like, this story, it's so genuinely heartbreaking, but at the same time it's such a beautiful, well written story, because the moment Nashtenka leaves our main character, you cannot blame her, but at the same time it's heartbreaking, because she goes and then she comes back and she hugs him and kisses him one last time and then runs away, and that's it. And then I believe she's married, and you start to ponder, like, what was all of it for? And this concept of situationship that comes up, and this one-sided love, it's heartbreaking. And that is truly the brilliance that I find when it comes to Fyodor Dostoevsky. And this book is one of the best, highly recommended books when it comes to Russian literature and how to break into Russian literature, because after you read White Nights, you can go read his other works such as The Gambler, Brother, and also the most impactful work, which is Crime and Punishment. Like, it is one of the best. I definitely recommend reading it. When I was reading the final question that Fyodor asks, which was, is this one moment enough for an entire man's life? And I began to think how women have idealized this concept of men being written by women are so much better portrayals. And I began to think of characters like Mr. Darcy, and I ponder that why don't people who idealize the perfect man, this rich guy who will come into the life and change for the woman, but like, those kind of men, I don't know whether they exist or they're not, or patriarchy has already crushed them, or they have already been crushed under the expectations that society has put on them with these sort of men. But men written by women are good, but men written by people like Fyodor Dostoevsky are men that have suffered in a way that cannot be described enough. Like, the loneliness that these men face is to such a level basically, that you begin to start thinking that, my God, a man like who suffers like this, how does he face life? Or a man like Gregor Samsa from The Metamorphosis, or a man from even Raskolnikov, who questions greatness to such an extent that it drives him to murder. And you begin to ponder that these men, compared to the idealized men, how they reflect, how easy it is to idealize them versus the loneliness that they suffer because they are not the idealized men. Like that one special line in this book where Nashtenka just says, basically the line of comparison that Nashtenka says, like there is a line over here where Nashtenka says that I'm comparing you both. I'm comparing my lover, who I thought was the ideal man, the man who is to take me to watch the Barber of Seville, versus you, who I've met for just a few days, and you have comforted me, you have done so much, you have reconnected me with this old love of mine, and you have stayed here, listened to me, and again comforted. And so that brief moment when they are together, but then the external lover comes back and she goes with him. So it's like, it's this profound loneliness and estrangement that they feel from living life. And Dostoevsky does a phenomenal job, like the best job of portraying a single man, the loneliness of a single man, like no one else. Like the closest I think that comes to him when it comes to like portraying a real lonely man is Kafka, and is a 8 out of 10. I definitely recommend reading White Nights. It's absolutely worth it. And those people who say that, like, Gordon, why don't you read modern works? Why don't you do this? Can you read this? Or is it mirrored? I don't know. But basically, Orbital, the 2024 Booker Prize winner. Yes, I'm going to read that because I want to know why it won the Booker Prize. I had read the previous Booker Prize, which is Prophet Song by Paul Lynch, which was a beautiful work, and I want to know about this work as well. But genuinely and honestly, the modern works do not compare with the classics. This is my take, this is my opinion. I know I'm acting like one of those pretentious guys who are like, oh, I read classics, so I do not touch these books. I'm sorry, okay? I have a biasness towards the classics that I cannot express. I read modern writers like Lambert Mascarenhas. I read others like Murakami. I read them, but I have this biasness towards the classics where I'm like, I would much rather read Stoicism from the classic philosophy, from the source, rather than from a self-help book. Like, I would genuinely not pick up a self-help book. That's my thing. So yeah, that's about it. Please read White Nights. It's a genuinely good book. It breaks you, but it also makes you ponder over the loneliness of a man, and also the loneliness of, I guess, life, basically. It's a good book, really recommended. If you finished reading White Nights, please read his other works such as Gambler and even Crime and Punishment. I will soon do a video which will have like the top 5 best opening lines of books. I want to do it with a friend, but I don't know someone that has read a lot of classic mixed books, basically. But I will find one. If I can do a collaboration video, I absolutely will. Thank you for watching this video. If you're watching it in Christmas time, Merry Christmas. If you're watching it during New Year's, Happy New Year. And take care. Bye bye. Good night.